Men on Reddit, would you feel uncomfortable if a woman wanted to approach you and ask you out? I recently found myself in a situation that many people can relate to, the nerve-wracking experience of asking someone out for the first time. As a 29-year-old woman with little dating experience and a tendency to get anxious in social situations, I was determined to change that. I had met a cute and friendly guy at a bookstore, and I wanted to take a leap of faith and ask him out for dinner. But how does one go about doing that when they're feeling shy and inexperienced? I turned to the internet for advice, specifically a dating advice subreddit, where I posed the question, would men feel uncomfortable if a woman approached them to ask them out? I was pleasantly surprised by the responses. Many guys shared that they appreciated confidence, and one commenter even mentioned how charming it was when a girl admitted her nervousness while asking for a date. This gave me a little boost of courage, and I decided to take a chance. Fast forward to the day I finally mustered the courage to approach him. I walked up to him, heart racing, and asked if he had a moment to talk. He agreed, and we stepped outside the bookstore. I introduced myself, shared my age and job, and confessed that I had a crush on him from the moment I saw him. To my delight, he blushed and seemed genuinely flattered. I handed him a note with my number, encouraging him to text me if he was interested. After that, I left, feeling a mix of exhilaration and disbelief. A little while later, my phone buzzed with a message from him asking where we should go for our date. I suggested a Japanese restaurant, and he replied that he was free that evening. I could hardly contain my excitement. I was finally going on my first date. After sharing my news with my mom, who was thrilled and even called my dad to celebrate, I realized I had nothing to wear. So I made a quick trip to buy a dress that I hoped would be perfect for the occasion. As the time approached, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. I parked outside the bookstore early, eager to see him. When he finally walked out, I was struck by how adorable he looked. My heart felt like it was about to burst. He greeted me with a handshake and a smile, and I could barely remember my own name at that moment. We got into the car, and I was so nervous that I hardly spoke, leading to an awkward silence. Thankfully, he broke the ice by asking where we were headed, and I mentioned the restaurant. He pointed out that it was a bit early, which led to yet another awkward pause. But then he suggested we take a walk around the area first. As we strolled, I felt like a dorky goose, trying to keep my cool while my mind raced. I was determined to make a good impression, but my nerves were getting the best of me. I asked if he had tried Japanese food before, and to my relief, he had. The conversation began to flow more easily after that. We discussed the latest Matrix movie, and I shared my opinion that it was quite disappointing. To my surprise, he was just as passionate about it as I was, and we dove deep into a discussion about the series. Then, something unexpected happened. He touched my hand. He shared his thoughts on the philosophical implications of the red and blue pills, and I was thrilled to discover that he was pursuing a PhD in philosophy. We talked about everything from feminism to the crisis of masculinity, and I felt a genuine connection forming between us. By the end of the night, I realized that my initial fears had melted away. What started as a nerve-wracking experience that turned into an engaging conversation filled with laughter and shared interests. I left the date feeling hopeful and excited about the possibilities that lay ahead. It was a reminder that sometimes taking a leap of faith can lead to wonderful surprises. I can't wait to see where this journey takes me next. I recently found myself in a situation that felt like something out of a romantic comedy. Picture this. I was sitting in a cozy restaurant, engaged in what I thought would be a casual conversation. Little did I know, it would turn into a 3-hour deep dive into the complexities of modern masculinity and feminism. Now, I'll admit, I wasn't exactly an expert on the topic. I was just trying to keep up with the conversation, nodding along as if I understood every word. As my companion passionately shared his thoughts, I felt my attention wane a bit. I mean, 3 hours is a long time to discuss anything, right? But he was so engrossed in his own world that it was hard to interrupt. Finally, I decided it was time to break the spell. I gently reminded him that we had been sitting there for quite a while. After we left the restaurant, he suggested we take a walk. I was surprised but also thrilled. I couldn't say no to that. So we strolled around the area, exchanging comfortable silences and occasional glances. It was nice, almost surreal. Eventually, he wrapped me in a long hug as I dropped him off at home. Later that evening, he called me. I was a bit nervous, wondering what he would say. To my surprise, he apologized for dominating the conversation and expressed a genuine interest in learning more about me. I couldn't help but smile. We ended up making plans to see each other again that weekend, and I was over the moon. I felt like I had just taken a leap into the unknown, and it was exhilarating. I shared my excitement with my friends, who were all incredibly supportive. They cheered me on, and I couldn't help but feel a little silly for how giddy I was. It was as if I had just crossed a threshold into a new chapter of my life, and I was ready for whatever came next. In that moment, I realized that sometimes stepping out of your comfort zone can lead to the most unexpected and delightful connections. So to anyone out there hesitating to express their feelings, take it from me. Don't be afraid to go for it. You never know what wonderful surprises await you. I, 26F, have asked my husband, 30M, to give me. I never thought I would find myself in such an awkward situation, but here I am, feeling embarrassed and unsure of where to turn for advice. My husband and I met about 6 years ago, and we quickly connected on many levels, including our discussions about intimacy. I remember telling him how important it was to me, and he shared that he hadn't done it before, but wanted me to be the only person he would ever do that with. When we got married in April 2024, I felt a mix of excitement and anticipation. However, as the months passed, I noticed that he hadn't initiated it or even brought it up. Concerned, I decided to have a conversation with him. I wanted to help him feel comfortable, so I asked if there was anything I could do to encourage him. He said he would try, but here we are in 2026, and nothing has changed. I've had multiple discussions with him, and he continues to say that it just doesn't feel natural for him. Despite my efforts to ensure I'm healthy and appealing, drinking plenty of water, eating well, and even trying on lingerie, nothing seems to spark his interest. It's disheartening, because I've always felt confident in my relationships, and his reluctance makes me question my desirability. I've even expressed my feelings about how one-sided our intimate life has become, where I feel like I'm only servicing him without receiving the same pleasure in return. I love my husband dearly, he is my best friend, but I can't shake the feeling that my needs are always secondary. I've tried everything I can think of, and I'm left wondering if there's anything else I can do to motivate him, or if he simply isn't interested. It's a tough situation, and I'm at a loss for what to do next. I just want to feel valued and satisfied in our relationship. Am I the bad guy for not helping my siblings care for our terminally ill mother? I'm the oldest of 3 siblings, and my family dynamics have always been complicated. My younger sister is 25, and my brother is 24. We share the same biological parents, but our father has always been absent, providing financially, but never emotionally. Our mother, on the other hand, had a particularly difficult relationship with me. Growing up, I faced a lot of verbal abuse from her. She often told me that I wasn't her daughter, but rather a reincarnation of her late mother, whom she despised. I remember her saying that I was a punishment sent to drive her crazy, and that I was unlovable. Whenever I was sick or hurt, she would dismiss me, telling me to find someone else to comfort me. There were even times when she would deny me food, insisting that I should just go to my room and starve. This treatment left deep scars, and I've been in therapy for 8 years trying to unpack the damage. My mother's disdain for me was so palpable that it overheaded any semblance of a mother-daughter bond. I remember vividly how she celebrated the death of her own mother, throwing a party for my siblings while I was left out. Now, my mother has been diagnosed with ALS and kidney failure. My siblings want to coordinate her care among the 3 of us, but I've made it clear that I cannot be involved. I told them that I wouldn't be able to provide her with compassionate care, especially since she can still talk and might remind me of how much she despises me. I fear that if I were to interact with her, I would snap. My siblings argue that I should help, pointing out that I'm healthier than she is and that I would be doing it for them, not for her. But I can't shake the feeling that she wouldn't have done the same for me if the roles were reversed. They seem frustrated with my decision, even though they claim to understand my reasons. It's a painful situation, and I'm left wondering if I'm in the wrong for wanting to protect my own mental health after everything I've endured. I love my siblings and want to support them, but I also have to prioritize my own well-being. Am I the bad guy for refusing to help care for our terminally ill mother?
I, 24F, am currently trapped in my BF's, 26M, bathroom in lingerie and nervous to go out. I found myself in a rather embarrassing situation one evening, and I can't help but share it with you. Picture this. I'm 24 years old, standing in my boyfriend's bathroom, wearing nothing but some beautiful lingerie and feeling utterly trapped. My boyfriend, who is 26, and I had been together for 2 years, and while things had been great, there was a significant issue looming over us. We hadn't been intimate in 9 months, largely due to his stress and depression, which had taken a toll on his libido. I had tried to initiate intimacy multiple times, but each attempt ended in rejection. It was disheartening, to say the least, and I was on the verge of giving up. In a moment of hope, I decided to buy some lovely lingerie, hoping it would reignite the spark between us. So there I was, in the bathroom, contemplating whether to step out and see if tonight would be different, or to retreat into the safety of my regular clothes. As I stood there, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. What if he said no again? The thought of facing another rejection was almost unbearable. I wanted to feel that closeness with him again, but I was also terrified of the outcome. After some encouragement from friends and online advice, I decided to change into something more casual. I realized that perhaps surprising him in lingerie might not be the best approach, especially given his current state of mind. When I finally emerged from the bathroom, I tried to act as if nothing had happened. I wanted to enjoy our evening together, but the underlying issue of our intimacy hung heavily in the air. Eventually, I mustered the courage to bring up the fact that we hadn't been intimate in so long. To my surprise, he admitted he hadn't even realized how much time had passed. He explained that his stress and the effects of his depression medication had clouded his thoughts about intimacy. Hearing that hurt more than I expected. I had to ask him if he still found me attractive, and he quickly reassured me that he did. However, he felt defeated by his situation, which was hard for both of us to process. I reminded him that I, too, had my struggles with stress and depression, and intimacy was a vital way for me to express my love for him. He listened and apologized, promising to make an effort to reconnect during our time off together. However, as the days passed, I felt increasingly lonely. We enjoyed each other's company, went out to dinner, and had fun, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was more of a friend than a girlfriend. After a week of this emotional turmoil, I reached a breaking point. I realized I had given him ample opportunity to initiate intimacy and address our issues, but nothing had changed. One night, I approached him with a heavy heart, knowing I had to speak my truth. I broke down in tears as I explained how important intimacy was to me and how his rejections had affected my feelings. It was painful to admit that I could no longer continue in this way. He began to cry as well, promising he would do anything to keep me, but I knew deep down that it was too late. I had hoped for a future with him, to build a family and share a life together, but I couldn't ignore my own needs any longer. That night marks the end of our relationship. It was a heart-wrenching decision, but I knew I had to prioritize my emotional well-being. Sometimes, love isn't enough, and it takes courage to recognize when it's time to let go. Let me take you on a little adventure that started with a simple wardrobe choice and ended with me feeling like a character in a sitcom. Picture this. I'm 24 years old, and I find myself in a rather peculiar situation, trapped in my boyfriend's bathroom, wearing nothing but lingerie. Yes, you heard that right. It all began when I decided to spice things up a bit. After nearly a year of feeling like I was in a relationship that was going nowhere, I thought, why not surprise him? I had been feeling the weight of our relationship for quite some time, and I wanted to reignite the spark. So I slipped into some cute lingerie, thinking it would be a fun surprise. Little did I know, this would lead to an unexpected turn of events. Now, let me rewind a bit. My boyfriend and I had been having some serious conversations about our relationship. There were months of rejection, and despite my hopes for improvement, things just didn't change. I had tried to communicate my feelings, but it seemed like we were stuck in a loop of, it'll get better. Spoiler alert, it didn't. After much contemplation, I decided to break things off. It was a tough decision, and I felt heartbroken, but I knew it was for the best. Fast forward to the day of my little surprise. I had planned everything perfectly. I thought this will be the moment that changes everything. But as I stood there, ready to make my grand entrance, I realized I had locked myself in the bathroom. Panic set in. I could hear my boyfriend outside, completely oblivious to my predicament. I was stuck, feeling both ridiculous and a little bit glamorous in my lacy outfit. As I fumbled with the lock, I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation. Here I was, trying to bring some excitement into our relationship, and instead, I was trapped in a bathroom like a character in a comedy sketch. I could only imagine what he would think if he found me like this. Would he laugh? Would he be concerned? After what felt like an eternity, I finally managed to free myself. I opened the door, and there he was, looking a bit confused, but also amused. I couldn't help but giggle at the whole scenario. It was a moment that reminded me that sometimes life throws you curveballs, and all you can do is laugh. In the end, I realized that while my relationship had its challenges, I still had the ability to find humor in even the most awkward situations. And though I was heartbroken over the breakup, I knew I was on the right path. It was time to focus on healing and moving forward, one laugh at a time. So, if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, trapped in a bathroom in your best lingerie, just remember to embrace the chaos. Life is too short to take everything so seriously.